The Home Secretary is issuing a warning to the Prime Minister as she delivers a speech saying a reliance on foreign labour will make us forget how to do things for ourselves.
Suellabraverman will call for Conservatives to renew their 2019 manifesto commitment, which promised to reduce migration.
Her comments come ahead of the release of official figures, which are predicted to reveal record levels of net migration, with the Home Office braced for the figure to surpass 1 million this year.
Right, OK, migration, net migration figures, whatever, what do they mean?
Yeah.
Alex Crowley, former political director to Boris Johnson. What is a net migration figure, Alex?
That's simply the number of people who have come to settle in this country after the number of people who have also left. So it's what's essentially left over.
And what she's saying is there will be more than 1 million in favour of those coming to the country.
That is what is predicted.
Yes.
We need to be careful about predictions. We know that the last set of figures showed about 500,000 net migration. A lot of those, of course, were people coming from Ukraine, people coming from Hong Kong, special schemes to deal with particular circumstances. We don't know what the new figure is yet. There's just speculation about what it is.
Look, there's a whole sector of people in this country who just love opening the doors. They love saying, come and see us in Britain. We have a proud nature of accepting refugees and immigrants, and we have a pride, all this proud nature, whatever it is. Can we afford to have these people here or not? That's all I want to know.
So there are two ways of looking at this. One is to say, well, actually, and this is what the Brexit referendum showed, is that we should be able to attract more of the world's talent to this country because they add a huge amount to this country. And I think most people probably accept that. One of our strengths is that people want to come here and contribute and make us collectively better off. However, there are problems as well. We don't build enough houses in this country already. And now, if we're looking at an increase in net migration, then there's probably going to be an increase. Where is the infrastructure to support that? If you're going to have a policy of increasing migration numbers, which is in practice what we have, despite the manifesto pledge, then the government also needs to put in the infrastructure.
What we've got, though, in Suellabraverman giving this speech is sort of a split in the Cabinet, haven't we? She's going against the official line from Rishi Sunak, the Chancellor, and even, I suppose you could say, the Education Secretary, who all accept that, as you say, migration can do a great deal for GDP and to boost growth for the country. She, on the other hand, is saying she wants to sort out these shortage occupation exemptions. So people who are fruit pickers, HGV drivers, etc., butchers, she doesn't want to bring them in from overseas. She wants us to do it here, otherwise we'll forget how to work. I put it to you, we've already forgotten. We don't want to do those jobs, or we certainly aren't paid enough to do them.
Well, the reality of the pandemic is that a huge amount of people left the workforce. That is just an economic fact. And so if you look at the Treasury's position, they will say, well, we need to fill those positions. There were shortages, if you remember, a year or so ago of HGV drivers, and that had a real impact on what food was on our shelves. Because, of course, if you haven't got someone to drive the lorry, the stuff isn't going to get here. So there's a very short-term practical reason for doing these things. And I suspect the Treasury and Rishi Sunak would argue that you can't just throw up the barrier immediately. You need to have some kind of plan if that's the aim of the policy, to have more UK nationals doing some of these jobs. Well, we need to have the skills programmes in place. We need to have the opportunities in place.
So how much will this speech ruffle the feathers, then, of Downing Street? Because she's also saying she wants, lorry drivers to be paid more. But hang on a minute, a moment ago we were being told high wages are inflationary and we don't want to be paying lorry drivers more because that gets passed on to our food costs.
Well, indeed. This, unfortunately, is one of those cases where a cabinet minister hasn't quite got their own way within government. And so the last resort, when you haven't won the argument internally, is to perhaps go out and make a speech somewhere and try and get the rest of the people on your side.
Well, OK, so how's Sunak going to receive this personally? He's the boss man. He's put her in her position. Does he not say, oh, you, come here and have a word, button it?
One of the strengths of Sunak's leadership so far has been it's been reasonably disciplined within government, actually. We haven't seen the kind of the freewheeling leaking that we saw under Liz Truss, under Boris Johnson. And so this is quite an unusual departure from that generally holding the line position. Downing Street will be watching very closely, and if the Home Secretary does stray a bit too far from the line, then there may be a difficult telephone call.
And perhaps prompted by dissatisfaction dissatisfaction with the local election results, some of this breaking with discipline. Can we just ask you, before we let you go, about Labour over the weekend talking about possibly extending the vote not only to 16-year-olds but to settled migrants, people who pay income tax here.
Yep.
But very controversial, people saying this is a backdoor to a second referendum on Brexit.
What we are seeing here is the beginnings of the Labour-Lib Dem flirtation. That's what it is. This is Labour putting out a nice little signal to the Lib Dems saying, hey, this is something that perhaps could be part of our future coalition deal. Of course, we know the Lib Dems would love nothing more than to take us back into the EU. And, of course, probably Starmer is maybe of that position too, deep down, if he could ever get away with it. It's a ridiculous idea for the simple reason that, of course, you would be giving EU nationals greater rights in the UK than perhaps UK nationals would have in EU countries.
Alex, hold that thought. When you come back, we're going to be talking about it again just after 7 o'clock this morning. Thank you very much indeed.